All right, so we are going to start Chapter 1, Section 2, called Order of Operations today. This is for IM1, or Integrated Math 1. So for this one, I just like to do this off of the student screen. So this is exactly what you will see when you're completing your homework, with the exception of a few things. You're going to see a due date here because on the student side you have a due date. This is the teacher preview, so it just doesn't show me that. You will always see attempts here, and you'll see your attempt number. So this is the first time I'm coming into this assignment, and I always have unlimited attempts, always. So you can come in and complete this as many times as you would like. This particular assignment has 10 questions. There should never be more than 10 questions. So it's anywhere from 1 to 10 questions on your assignments. Grading policy is always best score, so whichever attempt is your better one is the one you get to keep. And partial credit is enabled, meaning if you answer 1 of 10 questions, you get credit for the one question. Not if there's multiple answers within one question, you have to answer the entire thing to get credit for that one question. It's just if you answer 1 of 10 completely, then you get the one question. All right, and then always remember to submit your homework when you've started it. So you will see a submit assignment button down in the bottom right corner of your student screen. I will not see it on my teacher screen, but you will definitely see it on yours. And you always want to click submit to make sure that you don't get locked out of your other assignments, because if you just leave the assignment open, it will make you come back to this one. It will not let you do anything else until you click submit here. All right, let's go ahead and start. So on the screen, we can see our problem numbers at the top. And on the side here, we have these 3 buttons. They're always here. Sometimes a calculator will be here also, but you can click explanation. That will quite literally explain the problem you are looking at. So it's saying you will lose your question attempt, meaning that it'll give you a red X here, and you'll have to come back in on another attempt and try that question. But it's a pretty neat feature because you can literally see, I don't want to just general example. I want to know how to do this problem. So it'll actually explain that to you, but you don't get to just turn around and then, type in the answer. That would be kind of silly. So you click OK, and that would move you there. But the next one is example. This just gives you a general example of what to do on this screen. So if we take a look at this one, we're looking at a power here. So we have 2 to the power of 5. So it's showing us it doesn't mean 2 times 5. The 5 is an exponent. It's actually telling us how many 2's to use. So it means that we're using 5 2's. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That's different than 2 times 5, right? Because we're multiplying all these together. So if we multiply these out, we're going to end up with 32, not 10. That's a big mistake I see students make with this, with powers when we're looking at these, is they just automatically go, 2 times 5 is 10. Nope, this means 2 5 times. Sounds very similar, but it means something completely different. Okay, and if you want another example, you can always click on it. It will give you another example. So here we have 11 squared, so this means 11 2 times. 11 times 11 is 121, not 22. So be very careful about our powers here. And then you can also message your teacher. It will attach this exact problem that you're working on to the message so that we know exactly where to help you there. So that's definitely a neat feature for getting help. Okay, let's go ahead and get started here. So we just talked about powers, and sorry, making a little bit of noise moving around here. So when we're looking at this, 3 to the 3rd power, again, it doesn't mean 3 times 3. We are going to be multiplying 3's, but not just 3 times 3. It means when I have 3 to the 3rd power, the exponent tells me how many times to use the base. So I'm going to have 3 times. 3 times 3 times 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So we want to make sure we're using our rules here for powers. I'm going to click check, and we get a check mark there. Yay, it means we got it right. If you don't get it right, it actually gives you 3 attempts before it completely marks you wrong. So that's another nice little feature there. It doesn't just, have you type it in one time and go, oh, you got that one wrong. No, it'll give you more chances. Okay, so we're going to move forward to And this section is about order of operations, so it's kind of building us up to the full order here. So the order of operations is PEMDAS. And we go through and we did this in class with some of our notes. So we have parentheses, exponents, multiplication or division, this is an or, and addition or subtraction. And you always go from left to right when you're doing this. So we always want to go through order of operations. They're building us up a little bit slower to this, so they just showed us how to do exponents. Now we're going to look at some multiplication and addition, and we're eventually going to kind of put all of these together. So let's go ahead and take a look at this problem here. And I don't like using an x for multiplication anymore because we have variables now. So I really don't like using that x, so I'm going to change that to a dot for multiplication. You can also use parentheses if you want, but I would highly, highly, highly warn against using an x for multiplication at this point. All right. So we want to go through, we don't have any parentheses in here, we don't have any exponents in here, but we do have multiplication or division. So we want to do that from left to right. So I can't do 8 plus 2 because 2 is being multiplied by 10. So 8 gets written down and I go 2 times 10, that's 20. I can't subtract yet because 15 is being divided by 3. So 15 divided by 3 is 5. So I need to make sure I go through and do all my multiplication division and bring that down, and then we can move to addition or subtraction. So you always follow the order of operations when you're simplifying. And we do this even once we get to equations. We simplify first, and then we start to solve. All right, so now from left to right, we go 8 plus 20, that's 28, minus 5, so 28 minus 5, we get 23. All right, so we have simplified, or they say evaluate here, means the same idea, evaluate or simplify. Whoops, almost got that guy wrong. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and erase that. Okay, so now we are being given some parentheses. 21 divided by 7 minus 2 times 8. Oof, I don't like that x. Times 8. Okay. So when you're doing parentheses, these brackets are just a second layer of the parentheses. So the first ones are always going to be kind of these basic rounded ones here. And then you'll go to the brackets for the second layer. And there's even a third layer where they can have kind of a fancy one. We don't normally go that far though. So we want to do parentheses first. And every time you go inside of a layer of parentheses, you start over with order of operations. So if we go inside the brackets here, because there's our parenthesis, now we have to start over. We have to go parenthesis again. So we need to go to these blue ones that I put in here. So first, we're going to reduce this down to one number. Once it's down to one number, I actually don't need those parentheses anymore. So I can just do 14 plus 21, and I get 35 there. Divided by 7 minus 2 times 8. So I didn't change anything else. I just reduced the one parenthesis piece here. And then moving down, now I'm still working within parentheses for the brackets, but I'm kind of going through the order of operations within the brackets. So now I'm going to go multiplication or division. I can't subtract 2. I know some students like to do that first because, hey, it's the easy one. I'm going to subtract 2. That's not within the order of operations. We need to do multiplication or division before we do subtraction. So I need to do 35 divided by 7, which is 5, minus 2. I just brought minus 2 down and times 8 down. I haven't done anything with those. So now 5 minus 2, that's 3. I don't need the brackets anymore. Now that it's one single number, I can drop the brackets and just multiply by my 8 on the outside here. So I get 24. All right. Check. Yay. Continue. Okay. So, let's see if I can, I'm going to keep erasing a little bit more of that order of operations piece up top there, but put it back a little bit here. Left to right. Okay. So now we have 4 bracket 75 minus 1 minus 1 squared. Okay, we have quite a bit going on here. So we have parentheses. We have 2 different sets of parentheses. We also have an exponent. And we do have some multiplication happening here on the outside. We have quite a bit of addition subtraction. So we're using all 4 steps here for our order of operation. So first, parenthesis. So we have our brackets, and then once I go within the brackets, I need to go back and start again. I'm going to have to go parenthesis again. Okay? So I'm going to write everything else down. I'm not using these pieces yet, but I'm going to reduce this down to one number. 7 minus 1 is, I almost wrote 8, not plus, minus, and then I'm put the squared with it. This is going to be squared. So now I put the bracket down. Now I'm going to go to exponent within the bracket. So I'm still working on parentheses for the whole bracket, but I have to go through the entire thing within the bracket to reduce it down to one number. So I have 75 minus, I need to do this squared before I can subtract from 75. So 6 squared, remember that's not 6 times 2, it's 6 2 times. So 6 times 6, which is 36. And then we have 4. Oh, now that I'm going to come down to one number, so I'm not going to go ahead and write the brackets, but we do want to subtract this. If you can't necessarily do that in your head, you could always write it off to the side here, or you could use a calculator. I know the calculator is not available on here. It tends to be a little picky on when it gives you the calculator on ALEKS, but we do have them available in Center if you need them. But we can borrow here. It's not too big of a problem where we can't borrow. So we get 9 and we get 3, so 39. All right, so then we're going to multiply by 4 for the 39. And again, and I'm just going to move this out of the way, you can do the same thing, 39 times 4. So you can put an X on this guy because this one is kind of a traditional one to have an X on it. So 9 times 4, I get 36. 4 times 3, I get 12. And then I need to add these back. So 15. So we get 156. Move that over. And we're going to type our number in here. 156. Check. Yay. Next one. Okay. So it says evaluate. Same thing. Evaluate, simplify. It really doesn't matter which word they use. It all means the same thing. What they're trying to do is be a little tricky with the negatives here because that tends to throw students off a bit with our negative numbers. So we're still going through the order of operations here. We do have a set of parentheses, but that's around the negative number, so it doesn't really need any simplification. It's just indicating that we're dividing by a negative number, or sometimes we're multiplying by a negative number, and they'll put the negative number in parentheses. So that's all those mean, is it's just around a negative number. We don't have any exponents. Multiplication or division, we do have some division here. So I'm going to write minus 6. I can't do anything with it yet because I have to deal with this division first. So I have negative 9 divided by negative 3. When I'm multiplying or dividing, 2 negatives make a positive. Okay, so now it's just 9 divided by 3, which is 3. Negative 6 plus 3. So this is another tricky one for students because we're adding and subtracting integers that are opposite each other. So I have negative 6, and I'm adding 3 to that. So if I look at a number line too, because this is sometimes helpful, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here's negative 6. Adding means I'm going in this direction, right? I'm going toward the positives. If I was subtracting, I'd be going toward the negatives. But I'm adding, so I want to go 1, 2, 3, and I'd be on, and this is a little sloppy, sorry, but it lands on negative 3. So I'm adding those 3. I'm moving to the right. The other way to look at that is I'm subtracting. 6 minus 3 is 3. 6 was bigger. There's more negative. So it's going to be -3 for my answer. But whichever helps you, if a visual number line definitely helps you picture that better, I would suggest, drawing that out until you understand that a little bit better. All right, continue. Alrighty, so with these ones, it says find the value of b minus 7 when b equals 18. So they're giving us an expression, pretty simple one here, and they're saying, okay, well, what does it equal? What's the value here if b is 18? Okay, well, b is 18, and I'm subtracting that from 7, so I just say 18 minus 7, and I get 11, right? So I would just subtract. So they're just asking us to plug a number into the variable. They're saying, here's an expression, and this is what your variable equals. Now what do you get? Alrighty, so we're going to keep going. So same idea here. And I could have probably written more than one on the screen without erasing, but so we have n times 8. I really don't like that they're using the x, but that's my nitpickiness. So n times 8, and n is 9. So 9 times 8 is 72. Sounds pretty easy. If you're having trouble with any of your multiplication table, we actually have quick tables on here as well that you can use. And you can find that when you go to the menu options in your right corner and the drop down. I think it's down toward the bottom. You'll see quick tables, and you can actually practice your times tables if you want to, just to get a little faster at that. It's definitely a good skill to have when you want to kind of get through problems a little faster. Okay, so we have d minus 6 times c. Remember, this means times. So d, they're telling us, is 21. And this is a 6, so that stays a 6. But we now know c is 3. So I just plugged my pieces in. So now I'm going to evaluate it. I'm going to complete the operations. Remember, order of operations says I have to do multiplication before subtraction. So 6 times 3 is 18. And then if I subtract these guys, I get 3. Because 21 minus 18 is 3. All right. Oh, come on. Stop doing that. It keeps resetting my mouse for some reason. All right. I'll erase this just so I have a little bit more room here. Boop. Okay. So evaluate the expression when p equals 8. So we have p squared minus 16. So we know p equals 8. I still have a squared, and I still have minus 16. I just replaced p with 8 just like I have in the other ones. So remember, order of operations, I have to do exponents before I can do subtraction. So 8 squared does not mean 8 times 8. And they're doing this on purpose because it kind of looks like it's 16 minus 16. Remember, or it doesn't mean 8 times 2. I said that funny. It means 8 times 8. So it's 8 2 times. 8 times 8 is 64. And now we can take away 16. So again, like I said, they were doing that kind of on purpose to see if you would do 8 times 2 is 16 minus 16 is 0. That's not correct. We don't want to do 8 times 2. We want to do 8 times 8. All right, and then if we subtract these, and again, you can do this kind of off to the side if you need to. You can do a calculator. You may very well be able to do this in your head as well, because this one's not too terribly hard to do in our heads. But hey, doing our subtraction here is not too big a deal, because I'd have 6, 7, 8, and then I'd have 4. So I'd get 48 here. That would be my end answer. Oh, and the mouse is arguing with me again. All right, one more problem here. We have, so this one's a little bit more complicated looking, because we have kind of a fraction or some division. So this means when you see a fraction, it literally means division. I'm dividing the entire thing by a. So first I'm going to simplify the entire top, and then I'll divide by that a. So with this one, we know c is 8. So I'm going to replace c with 8 plus, oops, I was going to write a, but a we know is 3, and there's still a squared, and then a again on the bottom is 3. So first, let's simplify the top here. So we have to do order of operations on the top. Exponents come first. So 3 times 8 plus, it's not 3 times 2, it's 3 times 3. So 9 over 3. So now I have 3 times 8, and that's 24 plus 9 over 3. 24 plus 9, we get, let's see, what is that? 33. Sorry, I'm running out of room here. Divided by 3. So now I'm down to one number. I can divide by 3. 33 divided by 3 is 11. I want to show you one thing too, because I can kind of back this up a little bit. If you're noticing, because some of the students might be a little bit more advanced who are watching this, if you notice this, I have 3, and then instead of writing, that's too big. Let's see. Boop, I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. So I can just erase this too. So I'm going to rewrite this as 3 times 3, just so that I have this. So I'm multiplying by 3 here, I'm multiplying by 3 here, and I'm dividing by 3. Well, I can actually cancel it out if I'm multiplying by the same number for every piece. And what I mean by pieces is the numbers are separated by an addition or subtraction sign. I can go, well, 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. And that means that there's no more, it'd be 1 on the bottom. Because there's actually a 3 here and a 3 here. If we wrote it correctly, we'd have 2 fractions. Not necessarily correctly, but if we separated them out. So I can divide them both, and I would just have 8 plus 3, and that would get me 11 as well. So if you see that reduction there, you can always do that ahead of time. That's a little bit more advanced, kind of depends on your math skills there, whether or not you notice that. But I would highly suggest, if you're still a little wary of this, go through the order of operations before trying to jump into, doing the reducing and stuff ahead of time, just to make sure that you understand how the order works. All right, well, that was section 2, and I will see you in section 3.